Hello, everyone, and welcome to Harley Race, Part 1, Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. As we see there, Harley Race as Jack Long with partner Johnny Long, and we will talk about that. And I believe, Jack, I believe you're going to start us out.
I certainly am. Harley Race was 15 years old, toiling on the Missouri farm owned by Stanislaus and Waldeck Zabisco, two great grappling legends of the 1910s and 1920s. The brothers had won their share of shoot matches, and Stanislaus, in particular, knew a thing or two about winning the hard way, having wrestled noting world beater, the Great Gamma, to a draw, and later using his amateur skills to steal the world wrestling title from college football star Wayne Munn in a match that was supposed to be worked but ended up legit. After Race performed the back-breaking manual labor that developed his great grip strength that, years later, allegedly would allow him to defeat the world's strongest man, Bill Kazmaier, in a game of mercy. The Zabiscos would put Race in submission holds. They'd put me in one and say, "Try to get out." Race wrote in his autobiography. And the more I tried, the more I wore myself out or hurt myself. The sight of me hobbling around their farm for days on end wasn't uncommon. This resistance to punishment stood Race in good stead when he tried to catch on with Missouri wrestling promoter Gus Karras, who had a bunch of wrestlers try and fail to stretch the teenager. Karras realized that the 6'1", 230-pound youngster had potential and put him to work in another throwback to yesterday's hoary past, Carnival exhibitions.
I got to just ask this question right there. Why do people say that wrestling's horrid past? What's it all about?
Trying to think of a better word for that. Controversial past.
Controversial. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense than that word that was used.
Because remember, the 1930s is when the business was exposed, and everybody's still looking for fence back then. But it was still trying to come back up from that Carnival era, and had really not turned around until the 1950s with the advent of television.
This is true. By the way, the name of the wrestler that trained Harley Race was Ray Gordon. Ray Gordon was a friend of Pat O'Connor and was from New Zealand. Don't know much more about Ray Gordon than that. Maybe I can find some information on for another video. Rodney?
Race would usually serve as a local kid who loses to the Carnival shooter, but he also found himself facing some legitimate, tough old farmers who knew it was their chance of a lifetime to prove their mettle in the public against a real wrestler, or close to one as you can get being at age 16. If Race was defeated, the local got money, and if Race didn't, I don't understand what that said. If Race was defeated, the local got the money, and Race didn't. Okay, I got it. But if Race got disqualified, he kept the money. So whatever one of those mean locals had him on the ropes for real, Race would simply smash his head into their noses and earn his pay. He's done that more than one time. I've seen that. Karras also put Race to work in the 1960s doing something he truly loved, but which would also cause him grievous harm throughout his life: driving. In exchange of $5 a day, he was assigned to transport the 700-pound Happy Humphrey to his matches in 1951 Pontiac that was redesigned to accommodate the man's vast bulk. Race would earn $25 wherever he was refereed or wrestled on the undercard, usually against Humphrey in matches where he was expected to lose to the popular attraction, making Humphrey look like a Superman who could hold his own in super fights against likes of 600 pounds Haystack Calhoun, another massive wrestler in the vulnerable and crowd-pleasing Man Mountain Dean tradition. Unbelievable.
Because Humphrey didn't fit in most showers and could develop a strong odor if he wasn't bathing regularly, Race would have the huge grappler lie naked on the floor, coat him with soap, scrub him with a mop, and then rinse him off with a garden hose. But only a year later, while driving with his pregnant wife, Vivian Jones, Race was involved in a terrible accident when a tractor trailer swerved into his lane to avoid a snowdrift. According to Race, both he and his wife were pronounced dead at the scene. Vivian and the baby she was carrying did die. Somehow, Race managed to survive, but was told that he would need to have his right leg amputated. Karras said that he ran into the hospital and declared that the amputation would happen over my dead body. And a last-ditch operation by a specialist managed to save the leg. Although Race was told he'd never walk again, much less wrestle. He refused to accept that prognosis and tried to bury the memories of his wife's death by throwing himself into intense rehabilitation, ending up back on the road and in the ring with Happy Humphrey by late 1963.
Race also briefly used the name around this time working as Jack Long in the Nashville area alongside a lookalike grappler who wrestled as Johnny Long. He kept challenging fans to get in the ring with him, much had he done during his Carnival days, and dispatching them with submission holds and headbutts before they could prove too much of a problem. And here is some of the matches that he had as Jack Long. And Rodney, I think you're going to start us out.
Yeah, October the 11th, 1962, Memorial Auditorium, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Ramon Torres defeated Jack Long. American Legion Arena in Blytheville, Arkansas on October the 23rd, 1962. Lester Welch defeated Jack Long. It's in Lafayette. There was a match at the Lafayette High School Gym, Lafayette, Georgia, on November the 10th, 1962. Jack Long versus Jackie Fargo, with the winner unknown. Nashville, Tennessee, on December 25th, 1962. Jack Long and Johnny Long defeated Lynn Rossi and Cousin Alfred. Nashville, on January the 1st, 1963, Jack Long and Johnny Long defeated Lynn Rossi and Chief Crazy Horse. At the Hippodrome in Nashville, Tennessee, on January the 29th, 1963, Jack and Johnny Long defeated Tex Riley and Lynn Rossi. American Legion Arena, Blytheville, Arkansas, March the 5th, 1963, Johnny and Jack Long defeated Corsica Joe and Billy Wicks in a 2-out-of-3 fall match. Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, Tennessee, on March the 7th, 1963. It's Don and Luke Fields defeating Jack and Johnny Long. And by the way, Dad was the vice president of the Don and Luke Fields fan club. Ronnie West.
March 14th, 1963, Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Jackie Fargo defeated Jack Long. April the 1st, 1963, Ellis Auditorium in Memphis, Tennessee. Bobby Fields and Don Fields versus Jack and Johnny Long ended without a winner as a no contest. April the 9th, 1963, the Hippodrome, Nashville, Tennessee. Tex Riley and Corsica Joe defeated Jack Long and Johnny Long by disqualification. And then April the 23rd, 1963, Nashville, Tennessee, Jack Long, Johnny Long, and the Great Matador defeated Tex Riley, Jackie Fargo, and Corsica Joe.
All right, let's see. April 30th, 1963, Nashville, Tennessee. Jack Long and Johnny Long defeated Jackie Fargo and Corsica Joe. The American Legion in Blytheville, Arkansas. On May 14th, 1963, Jackie Fargo and Corsica Joe defeated Jack Long and Herb Larson by disqualification, 2-out-of-3 falls match. And then Harley Race makes his way to Kansas City and starts wrestling as Harley Race. You know, when you think of somebody's career, look at what Harley Race did. He will eventually become the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. But look at what he had to do to get to that point. He had to hose off Happy Humphrey
and mop him
off. You know, at the start of his career.
Car wash. Just take him by the car wash.
And now you hear people sometimes argue because, hey, I'm going to have to make a trip down here to well, wait until you have to clean off Happy Humphreys in the parking lot. I'm saying that now you got something to complain about. But Harley did.
The story that we told right there was a story that Gordon Soley told about Harley Race many times. And then, of course, then he always says, and then he goes on to be the NWA World Champion, not once, not twice, but I think at that point it was 6 times World Heavyweight Champion.
You know, I'll tell you something about Harley. Evidently, when he talked about he did an interview and he said those Zabiscos really hurt him bad on a daily basis. So that's the reason he knew how to hurt people bad if he wanted to, because he had learned from the best in that situation. All right, let's go and see what the insiders have got to say about the show and or about the Harley Race Part 1. We will be doing Harley Race Part 2. There'll probably be a bunch of Harley Race parts. There's a lot about. Michael Barr asked the question, did he use lye soap on Happy?
Whatever soap was available, I would say whatever you use on the car.
Richard Hood said he beat Dory in '73 to become champion. So really,
and it shocked the crowd that night too. You can see that on YouTube. Just look it up. Harley Race becomes world champion, defeating Dory Funk Jr. And it was a shocked that crowd.
Let's see who wrestled as the great. I could not. It did not say who the great Matador was. Would have to look it up, but it did not say who that was at all. So I'm not for sure really. Richard Hood, in my opinion, Harley Race was the greatest NWA champion, and he was very good. There's no doubt he was a tremendous wrestler. Robert Grice, by the way, Robert, how are you doing? He's glad to be back. We're glad to have you back as well. Michael Barr said, what a tragic accident. Yes, that was a horrible accident. And to hear Harley tell the story, and you can, Harley has told the story on several interviews. You can check them out. Just put Harley Race, and you'll see all the different things that he talked about. And Harley, when he's talking about that, it's a very hard. I can tell it's very hard on him. Someone said he believed that was Tito Santana would not have been around at that time. So when we look at Part 2 of Harley Race, he ends up in Kansas City, and he ends up years later, and I'm not for sure yet what year it was, but he ends up as one of the owners of the Kansas City territory. Harley Race gets over big time in Kansas City. And when we'll talk about that a little bit. And in an interview with Harley Race, he talks about the time and why he becomes Harley Race, his real name. And I thought it was very interesting, the story that he told, why he is Harley Race and never will be called anything else but a Harley Race. We'll see everybody on the next video right here on Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. We want to thank. We'd like to thank every one of the insiders for joining us on this program, and we hope that you join us for the next video right here as we look at Harley Race Part 2. Again, thank each and every one of the insiders, and we'll see everybody on the next video. Rodney, any comments about Harley Race before we leave?
As we start looking at Harley Race, and if you watch his matches, that slow, steady pace that he keeps is it's absolutely perfect, because it gives you that idea that he's going to get beat. He's going to get beat, and it's always foot on the rope. Got that shoulder up at the last second. Really was superb. And being the world champion for sure.
If you enjoyed this video, give us the big thumbs up. Subscribe to the page if you haven't already. It's absolutely free. Cost you nothing. Subscribe to the page. Go one step further. Hit that notification bell. Every time that we upload a video, you'll be able to see the video. It will let you know that the video is there. That way you can watch it. And we want to thank you so much. And watch the video down below. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next video right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now.